Hi, my name is Pete Hammond, and this video is intended to demonstrate that someone who has hardly used a sewing machine before in his life, that would be me, can nevertheless make simple yet viable PPE from two widely available variants of Tyvek. Now, Tyvek is a registered trademark of Dupont de Nemours. I think that's how you pronounce it. Now, a variant Tyvek is already widely used to make PPE, but not the two variants which I've selected for this demonstration. The two I've selected are targeted at construction and freight, two markets which are pretty much in the doldrums at the moment. These two particular variants are therefore still, at least for the time being, in plentiful supply and seem to have been largely overlooked by the global PPE fabric scouts. Tyvek allows water vapour, and therefore also perspiration, through its polyethylene membrane, whilst also repelling water. Unless, of course, you happen to have in front of you the one or two Tyvek variants which are perforated, but these, of course, are for completely different applications. In our own water penetration experiment, not one drop of water came through our Tyvek house wrap membrane in 4 hours. Now, this is quite remarkable for a Tyvek variant which, as far as I know, has not yet been put forward for compliance with BSEN 13795-1-2019, which is one of the specifications that worldwide health authorities might be looking for in surgical and hazmat situations, which we're not really talking about today. Although the BSEN 13795-1-2019 specification is readily available online, certification should only be carried out by accredited laboratories, not only because the specification is multifaceted and quite complex, but also because it may involve the handling of pathogens. Huh? Are you butting in on my video?
I didn't know. I thought you were pre-video.
Well, I don't know what I've got. There's usually a substantial charge associated with the download of the BSEN specification, which must be a bit worrying for entrepreneurs in countries like Rwanda and Estonia, where surely the download should be free. Don't you think? Well, I certainly thought so. Of the two variants, 3442R is most like a normal cotton fabric, whilst house wrap crackles and pops rather like a well-known breakfast cereal, don't you think? But I suppose in a noisy factory environment, that doesn't really matter very much. It certainly never bothered me. So what about manufacturability and cost effectiveness? Both of these depend on the properties of your raw materials and the input of labour required to manufacture each garment. That's assuming that the raw materials are all readily available. Both variants take well to a sewing machine, although the 3442R feeds under the sewing machine foot better on one side than the other. Both variants come in large rolls and are relatively cheap because of their good availability. Their target markets, of course, not doing too well at the moment. Using normal sewing cotton, the seams that you make are very robust, and Tyvek is famous for being hard to tear but relatively easy to cut. Tyvek is also, of course, washable if you want your PPE to be reusable a few times. And of course you can ensure that the seams are 110% waterproof by inserting a suitable waterproofing tape, and that's into the seam, between the two layers, not over the seam. However, if you see your PPE as being disposable, then labour is the key. And this requires reducing the number of panels to a minimum and the number of stitches per garment also to a minimum. That is why, for the purposes of this demonstrator, I went for a single panel, folded in two, and then stitched down both sides. Now, Tyvek doesn't fray or unravel, so you don't need to hem the cutout for the head. Using such dumbed down designs, even a novice can churn out garments in 120 seconds. A proficient seamster or seamstress could probably halve that. I'm not even sure seamster is a real word. It probably should be. These single panel designs will probably not go down too well on the catwalks of London and Paris, but hopefully they will do a little bit to keep people well. Some people. Note that these dumbed down designs don't have arms. If your application requires arms, then you should probably invest in a few boxes of disposable long or full arm oversleeves, is what they're called. When specifying oversleeves, try to avoid colours like white, green or blue, because these colours are preferred by health authorities the world over. For that reason, for the purposes of these demonstrators, I chose red or clear. And that way you're not taking anything from any of the global health authorities. If you feel you need more protection around the neck and shoulder area, then you could do worse than invest in neck and shoulder hairdresser capes, which are readily available and cheap, whether you need them to be reusable or not, because they are in fact washable if you need them to be. Now, PPE is almost by definition an overgarment, so shop sizes are not really a great deal of help. Now, the house wrap folds into a garment of 70 centimetres in length, and the 3442R folds into a garment of 75 centimetres length. And these garments I'm, for want of a better word, calling tunics, because they're not aprons and they're not gowns, so I figured tunic. I in fact am wearing the largest garment I cut, and I cut it from an 80 centimetre piece of 3442R. Now that 80 centimetre cut probably equates to a very generous XXL. Or am I kidding myself? I'll leave you with a table of dimensions I cut in various sizes from both types of Tyvek. I hope this has been helpful. Goodbye.